It's quite extraordinary what we filmed this morning. I want to be really open about our journalism and how it came about. I received some information last night that this wanted man had been spending time in North London. And then I went to a cafe in this neighbourhood this morning where there were a number of Algerian men, and it quickly became apparent that they were aware that this guy was in this area. And I spoke to one of them who said that he'd seen him last night in Finsbury Park, and that it was something where it was a known thing among many people within that community that he was around, or certainly some people within that community. And I think there was some kind of willingness to try and bring a resolution to this and get the manhunt resolved, because a lot of people didn't really like what it was doing to the reputation of that community. And we were given information not long after visiting that cafe that he was in the park itself, in Finsbury Park in North London. And I was led to Finsbury Park and was told that, look, if you follow this particular person who knew him, that we would find him. And that is what we did. And then as we were doing that, some police officers ran past us. It became very quickly quite evident that they were searching for this man as well. There were police vehicles in the area, suddenly sirens, and they were lurching off between different sightings, really urgently trying to find him. And then when that was happening, when the police were looking for him, I was guided by someone here towards an individual wearing that hat, the man in the glasses that we have just seen being arrested. And he initially denied to me that he was the wanted man, and he tried to suggest to me that it was just under here, actually, where we met, just next to these bikes, that he tried to convince me that the wanted man had pedalled off on one of these hire bikes that you see all over London. That was a lie, because as you saw in that footage, the officers came in, arrested him shortly after he'd been talking to me, and we watched the whole process of him being handcuffed, his backpack taken off, his items were searched, and he was arrested on suspicion of being that person. You saw the officers in that video checking the images on one of the Sky News platforms. They had the Sky News image up of this man that had been circulated through the course of this week because it's such a high-profile manhunt. And they were checking, and you heard them talking about the distinctive nose that this man has. And the confirmation came through a short time afterwards that they did indeed have the right man. And as you saw in that footage, he was very much putting the blame for all this at the door of the authorities. And it is something that, of course, is deeply embarrassing for politicians. But you're right to point out that this is just a fairly ordinary high street in North London, very busy area, and this man was just walking around. You can see coffee shops, small supermarkets, just a busy high street. It's next to a college as well. And this is somewhere that this guy was just in the community. He'd been seen, I think, in about 3 areas of North London over the course of the last week. And the police now have their man, which will no doubt be some relief to the Ministry of Justice and also the prison service. But it's raised fundamental questions about what is going on in the prison service this morning. And I have to say, filming that today with our camera operator, Josh Masters, it was quite extraordinary, really, seeing it all unfold right in front of us. But it was the information that I had independently that brought us to this part of North London, and at the same time the Metropolitan Police officers also had a tip-off from a member of the public that brought their officers into the same area. And as we've seen in that remarkable sequence of events that took place on this road, Blackstock Road in Finsbury Park, he was arrested and put into the prison van. And one footnote to all this, what seems like a coincidence at this stage, is that a couple of weeks ago I was reporting from this part of North London on the search for Hadoush Kabatu, the Ethiopian man who, you may remember, the asylum seeker who was convicted of sex offences in Epping, prompted so many protests in Epping about what is going on in asylum hotels and the checks that are in place, that it was the same park. It was the same part of North London, the same park where Hadoush Kabatu was arrested a couple of weekends ago, the same park where this man was this morning, where we were led to, and then a short walk through the middle of the high street here to where that arrest then played out. So a quite extraordinary end to this manhunt. He is back in custody. The prison service has been informed, and the Metropolitan Police, I'm sure, will have felt some relief, because they were put at a big disadvantage in this, because the information from the prison didn't come through when he was mistakenly released. It came through 6 days afterwards. And that was a real problem for the Met Police, starting a manhunt from that point. But as you saw, the officers there calmly and quite diligently, really, checking the photos, looking at the man. They worked out that he was suspicious, and they were being told by members of the public here that it was him. That's what we were being told on the ground too. And he's back in custody, having had his say as he was being put in the back of the police van there, saying that it wasn't his fault. Well, the Ministry of Justice, of course, have said that our prisons are in crisis. David Lammy, the Justice Secretary, once again saying that yesterday, how angry they've been about these releases, how it has to stop. The tightest checks now ever are in place on prison gates to prevent the kind of thing that we've seen here, a totally unnecessary manhunt that's taken up a lot of police resource in the last few days. You saw how many officers were here in Finsbury Park to make that arrest this morning, and I have to say, being here and witnessing it all, the urgency with which those officers wanted to find that man was very, very clear indeed, and he is now back in custody.